Pay attention to the man in the police uniform walking with the stumbling woman on Marshall Street at exactly 11:47 p.m. His name is David Kramer. His badge catches the streetlight. His radio is clipped to his shoulder. His grip on her arm is firm, supportive, practiced. But he doesn't look like every other officer who's helped an intoxicated person get home safely. There's something different in the way he moves. The way he scans the empty street. The way he positions himself between her and the light. Now pay attention to the woman barely able to stand. Her name is Jessica Brennan. She's a 31-year-old graphic designer who left her best friend's bachelorette party just 20 minutes ago. She has no idea that two men are coordinating her every step. She was supposed to be in a lift heading home. She was supposed to wake up tomorrow for brunch. She was supposed to have her whole life ahead of her. But there is a second man walking with them. He steps out of a black SUV parked in the shadows. His hands are in his pockets. His head is down. To anyone watching, he might just be another pedestrian heading home. But watch how he mirrors every turn they make, how he never takes his eyes off them, how he moves with purpose, like someone following a plan. Who is he? Why is he here? And why does David Kramer never acknowledge his presence, as if they've done this before? In exactly 7 minutes, Jessica will get into what she believes is a police cruiser. She will trust the uniform. She will trust the badge. She will never be seen alive again. But here's what makes this case extraordinary. What you're about to witness will expose not just one predator, but a partnership so calculated, so rehearsed, that investigators will realize these two men have been hunting together for years. And when they finally discover who the second man is and what role he played, it will reveal the darkest truth of all. January 18, 2025. The bachelorette party started at Vino Rosso, an upscale wine bar in Portland's Pearl District. 10 women, ages 28 to 34, all friends since college. The bride-to-be, Stephanie Cortez, was getting married in 2 weeks. Tonight was their last celebration together. Jessica Brennan arrived at 7:30 p.m., wearing jeans and a cream-colored sweater. She'd taken a lift from her apartment in the Alberta Arts District because she knew she'd be drinking. She was responsible, careful, the type of person who planned ahead and never took unnecessary risks. Security footage from Vino Rosso shows the women laughing, toasting with champagne, taking photos with sparkly bachelorette sashes. Jessica has 2 glasses of wine between 7:30 and 9:45. She's animated, smiling, fully engaged in conversation. At 10:15 p.m., the group decides to move to another bar 3 blocks away. Jessica is steady on her feet, alert, clear-headed. What happens in the next 90 minutes will be captured by cameras across downtown Portland. But what those cameras reveal won't make sense until investigators piece together a pattern that's been playing out for years. The group arrives at Tap House, a crowded sports bar with exposed brick walls and craft beer on tap. The bachelorette party claims a high-top table near the back, away from the main bar. Jessica orders a vodka soda, just one. She's already thinking about tomorrow morning's brunch, about making sure Stephanie has the perfect weekend. At 11:02 p.m., Jessica excuses herself to use the restroom. The hallway is narrow, dimly lit, lined with vintage beer posters. When she returns at 11:06 p.m., her friend Alicia Martinez notices something has changed. Jessica seems quieter, more withdrawn, not stumbling drunk, not visibly impaired, just off. I asked if she was okay. Alicia will later tell police. She said she was just exhausted from work. I didn't push it. I wish I had. At 11:23, Jessica tells the group she's heading home. She hugs Stephanie, promises she'll see everyone at brunch, and walks toward the exit. The bar's door camera captures her, leaving at 11:26 p.m. She's moving deliberately, like someone concentrating on appearing normal. Her phone is in her hand. She's ordering a ride, but she never makes it to her pickup location. A traffic camera at Marshall Street and 10th Avenue captures Jessica walking alone. The rain has started. She's hunched against the cold, phone still illuminated in her hand. She passes a closed boutique, a darkened office building, a 24-hour laundromat with fluorescent lights bleeding onto the wet pavement. At 11:38 p.m., Jessica stumbles, not dramatically, not falling, but her gait changes. She reaches out, touches a storefront window for balance, then continues forward. A bank ATM camera 1 block north captures her at 11:41 p.m. She's leaning against a brick wall now, head tilted back, eyes closed. Her phone has slipped from her hand and fallen to the sidewalk. She doesn't notice. A man walks past her, glances, keeps walking. Another couple crosses to the other side of the street. No one stops to help. No one calls 911. At 11:44 p.m., something else appears in the frame. A black SUV, a Ford Explorer with tinted windows, drives slowly past Jessica. It doesn't stop. It circles the block. The driver is scanning, hunting. At 11:47 p.m., everything changes. A security camera mounted on a pawn shop awning captures what happens next. David Kramer, dressed in a complete Portland police uniform, exits the black SUV and walks directly toward Jessica. His movements are confident, authoritative, practiced. He looks exactly like what you'd expect a patrol officer to look like. He approaches Jessica, leans down, says something. She doesn't respond. He touches her shoulder gently. She opens her eyes, confused, disoriented. He shows her his badge, gestures toward his vehicle. She nods. He helps her stand, supporting her weight, walking her slowly toward the SUV. To anyone watching, this is a police officer helping an intoxicated woman, a routine act of public service. But here's what makes this footage extraordinary. If you watch closely, you can see a second figure in the background. A man in dark clothing, hands in pockets, head down, walking parallel to them on the opposite sidewalk. He's not looking at them directly, but he's matching their pace, mirroring their movements. At 11:49 p.m., David Kramer opens the back door of the SUV and helps Jessica inside. She's compliant, trusting, completely vulnerable. And then the second man crosses the street. He walks directly to the SUV and gets into the front passenger seat. David Kramer gets into the driver's seat. At 11:50 p.m., the vehicle pulls away and heads south on Interstate Avenue. Jessica Brennan will never be seen alive again. January 19, 2025. When Jessica doesn't show up for brunch at 10 a.m., her friends assume she overslept. They text her. No response. They call. Straight to voicemail. By noon, Alicia is worried. Jessica always answers her phone. Always. At 1:15 p.m., Alicia drives to Jessica's apartment in the Alberta Arts District. She has a spare key. The apartment is exactly as Jessica left it the night before. Her bed hasn't been slept in. Her laptop is on the kitchen table, her work bag beside the door. Everything is untouched. At 2:03 p.m., Alicia calls the Portland Police Bureau to report Jessica missing. Detective Raymond Chen catches the case. He's been with PPB for 19 years, the last 7 in major crimes. When Alicia describes Jessica leaving the bar at 11:26 p.m., Chen immediately requests security footage from businesses along her likely route home. By 6 p.m., Chen has compiled footage from 7 different cameras. He watches Jessica walk from the bar. He watches her stumble. He watches her lean against the wall. And then he watches David Kramer approach her in full police uniform. Chen's blood runs cold. Detective Chen immediately contacts the duty sergeant to identify which officer responded to Marshall Street on January 18th. The sergeant checks the logs. No one was dispatched there. No one self-reported a citizen assist. Chen reviews the duty roster. Every officer on patrol that night is accounted for. GPS data from their vehicles confirms their locations. None were anywhere near Marshall Street between 11:30 p.m. and midnight. The man in the uniform is not a police officer. Chen escalates the case immediately. Within hours, the FBI's Violent Crimes Task Force is involved. But it's what Chen notices when he reviews the footage a second time that transforms this from a missing person case into something far more sinister. The second man. Chen rewinds the pawn shop camera footage. He watches it again. And there, in the background, is a man in dark clothing, walking parallel to Kramer and Jessica. Chen fast-forwards to the moment Jessica is placed in the SUV. The second man crosses the street and gets in the passenger seat. 2 perpetrators. Working together, Chen runs the SUV's partial license plate through databases. The vehicle is registered to a rental company in Beaverton, Oregon. It was rented 3 days ago under the name Michael Torres. But when investigators contact Michael Torres, they discover his identity was stolen. His driver's license was copied during a traffic stop 6 months ago. Whoever rented that SUV knew exactly how to cover his tracks. January 20, 2025. FBI Special Agent Karen Mendez joins the investigation. She specializes in serial predators and partnered offenders. When Chen briefs her on the footage showing two men, Mendez immediately requests a database search for unsolved cases involving women who disappeared after encounters with fake police officers. What emerges is a pattern that stretches across 3 states and 4 years. The 14th of March 2023, Seattle, Washington. Lauren Vasquez, 29, disappeared after leaving a downtown bar. Security footage showed her being helped by someone in a Seattle PD uniform. Her body was found 3 weeks later in woods outside Tacoma. Cause of death, strangulation. But here's what investigators missed. In the background of that security footage, barely visible, is a second man walking behind them. The 7th of August 2023, Eugene, Oregon. Amanda Price, 27, vanished after a night out. Witnesses reported seeing her with a police officer near her car. Her remains were discovered 6 months later. Cause of death, ligature strangulation. Traffic cameras near the scene captured a black SUV circling the block 3 times before she disappeared. The 22nd of November 2024, Spokane, Washington. Kelly Hutchins, 33, disappeared from a parking garage. Security footage showed a man in uniform approaching her. Her body was found 2 months later. Cause of death, asphyxiation. Parking garage footage also captured a second vehicle, a black SUV, entering moments before she was abducted. In each case, the victims were alone. In each case, they appeared intoxicated or disoriented. In each case, a man in a police uniform was the last person seen with them. And in each case, when investigators re-examine the footage, they find traces of a second man. The FBI creates a task force. They call the Operation Blue Line Hunters. January 21, 2025. Jessica Brennan's body is found by a hiker in Forest Park at 8:47 a.m. She's lying in a drainage ditch off Wildwood Trail, partially concealed by underbrush. She's still wearing the cream sweater from the bachelorette party. The medical examiner determines she died of ligature strangulation between midnight and 3 a.m. On January 19th, toxicology reveals GHB in her system. She was drugged, likely at the bar, when she went to the restroom. But crime scene techs find something else. 2 distinct sets of boot prints in the mud near her body. 2 different tread patterns, 2 different sizes. And on Jessica's sweater, forensic analysts find fibers from 2 different sources. A dark blue thread consistent with a police uniform, and a black synthetic fiber consistent with tactical outerwear. 2 killers, working in tandem. January 23, 2025. The FBI analyzes every frame of security footage. They enhance images of David Kramer's face, run it through facial recognition, cross-reference it with databases of former security guards and law enforcement wannabes. The match comes back quickly. David Kramer, age 41, resident of Beaverton, Oregon. Former security guard fired from 3 companies between 2019 and 2021 for inappropriate conduct toward female employees. In 2020, he was arrested for impersonating a police officer after pulling over a woman using illegal emergency lights. He pled guilty to a misdemeanor, paid a fine, and the charges were expunged. Investigators pull his employment history. Long gaps appear between jobs, gaps that align perfectly with the timeline of the murders. FBI analysts scrub through footage from all 4 murder locations, looking for patterns. They isolate images of the black SUV from multiple cameras. They enhance the license plates. They track rental records. And that's when they discover something chilling. The black SUV was rented 4 separate times over 3 years, each time under a different stolen identity. But the credit cards used to pay for those rentals all trace back to the same IP address during online reservations. An address in Gresham, Oregon. Investigators obtain a warrant for subscriber information. The residence belongs to a man named Eric Dalton, age 38, unemployed, living in a small rental house on the outskirts of Portland. When they run Eric Dalton's background, red flags appear immediately. He has a juvenile record that was sealed, but a judge grants access. At age 16, Dalton was arrested for assault with a weapon. At 19, he was investigated for stalking, but never charged. At 23, he was questioned in connection with a missing woman in Bend, Oregon, but released due to lack of evidence. And here's the connection. In 2019, Eric Dalton worked at the same security company where David Kramer was employed. They knew each other. They worked together. They planned together. January 24, 2025. At 6:15 a.m., FBI SWAT teams execute simultaneous raids on David Kramer's residence in Beaverton and Eric Dalton's residence in Gresham. Kramer is arrested without incident. He's calm, almost expecting them. At Dalton's house, agents find the black SUV parked in a detached garage. Inside the vehicle, zip ties, duct tape, rope, a bottle of GHB, and a duffel bag containing clothing belonging to Jessica Brennan, Lauren Vasquez, Amanda Price, and Kelly Hutchins. Trophies. In Dalton's basement, investigators find something even more disturbing: a planning board. Photos of bars and clubs pinned to cork. Maps of downtown areas with isolated streets highlighted. Schedules of events where women would be drinking. This wasn't opportunistic. This was meticulously researched. And on Dalton's laptop, encrypted video files showing all 4 murders, recorded from multiple angles. Both men participated. When confronted, Eric Dalton remains silent. He requests an attorney immediately, but David Kramer talks. In the interrogation room, David Kramer sits across from Detective Chen and Agent Mendez. He's still wearing the clothes he was arrested in. His expression is eerily calm. "You want to know about Eric," Kramer says. "He's the smart one. He planned everything." Kramer explains that they met in 2019 at Allied Security Services. They bonded over what Kramer calls shared interests. Eric had ideas. He'd been thinking about it for years. How to target women without getting caught. How to use authority to control them. How to make them disappear. Eric studied police procedures. Kramer continues. He knew how to avoid cameras, how to dispose of evidence, how to create alibis. But he needed someone who could play the role, someone who looked the part. That's where Kramer came in. He'd always been obsessed with law enforcement. He'd tried to become a cop 3 times and failed the psychological evaluation each time. So he became the next best thing, a fake cop. "We started planning in 2022, Kramer says. Eric would identify targets, women who were alone, who'd been drinking, who wouldn't be missed right away. I'd approach them in uniform. They'd trust me. Then Eric would drive. We'd work together." Mendez asks why. What did they get out of it? Kramer's answer is chilling. Control. Power. The feeling of being untouchable. As investigators piece together the partnership, a horrifying picture emerges of how Kramer and Dalton operated. Eric Dalton was the planner. He researched locations, identified targets, rented vehicles under stolen identities, acquired supplies, and mapped escape routes. He was meticulous, patient, careful. He never approached the victims directly. He stayed in the background, orchestrating everything. David Kramer was the hunter. He wore the uniform, made contact with victims, gained their trust, and lured them into vehicles. He projected authority and confidence. He was the face of the operation. Together, they were a perfect killing team. Kramer provided the access. Dalton provided the planning, and both participated in the murders. Forensic evidence confirms both men's DNA at every crime scene. The videos found on Dalton's laptop show them working in sync, each knowing their role, each feeding off the other's violence. David Kramer and Eric Dalton are charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, 4 counts of kidnapping, multiple counts of impersonating a police officer, sexual assault, and conspiracy. Their trial begins in September 2025. The prosecution presents overwhelming evidence: the security footage, the uniforms and equipment found at Kramer's home, the planning materials and trophies found at Dalton's house, the videos, the forensic evidence, the confession. Kramer's defense argues he was manipulated by Dalton, that he suffers from a personality disorder that made him susceptible to influence. The jury doesn't buy it. Dalton's defense argues that Kramer acted alone and is now trying to implicate an innocent man. The videos prove otherwise. On the 18th of November 2025, after deliberating for 6 hours, the jury finds both men guilty on all counts. David Kramer is sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. Eric Dalton is sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. In his sentencing statement, the judge calls their partnership one of the most calculated and depraved conspiracies to commit murder this court has ever seen. The families of Lauren Vasquez, Amanda Price, Kelly Hutchins, and Jessica Brennan finally have answers, but the pain is immeasurable. Jessica's family establishes the Jessica Brennan Safety Foundation, advocating for legislation requiring stricter controls on the sale of police equipment and harsher penalties for impersonating law enforcement. They also push for increased security camera coverage in downtown entertainment districts. Monica Brennan, Jessica's younger sister, becomes a vocal advocate for public awareness. "My sister trusted that uniform," she says at a press conference. "She was taught her whole life that police officers are there to help. These men weaponized that trust. We need to teach people that it's okay to verify an officer's identity. Real officers will understand, predators won't." Law enforcement agencies across the country now train officers to expect citizens to request badge numbers and call dispatch to verify identities, especially during late-night encounters. The Portland Police Bureau implements new protocols requiring all officers to document citizen assists through dispatch, creating a real-time record of every interaction. And hotels, bars, and clubs in downtown areas install additional security measures, including panic buttons and direct lines to police dispatch. Jessica Brennan did everything right. She limited her drinking. She called for a ride. She was responsible and careful. But David Kramer and Eric Dalton spent years perfecting a system designed to exploit the one thing society teaches people to trust: a police officer's uniform. For 4 years, they hunted across the Pacific Northwest. They researched their targets. They planned their approach. They documented their crimes. And they believed they were untouchable. The security cameras that captured their movements are now used in FBI training programs nationwide, teaching investigators how to identify partnered offenders and recognize surveillance patterns in security footage. The case of the Blue Line Hunters changed how law enforcement understands serial predators. It's no longer just one monster in the darkness. Sometimes, it's two, working together, feeding off each other, becoming something even more dangerous than they could be alone. David Kramer and Eric Dalton sit in separate maximum security prisons, serving 4 life sentences each. They will never see freedom again. Jessica Brennan, Lauren Vasquez, Amanda Price, and Kelly Hutchins are gone. 4 brilliant women whose lives were stolen by 2 predators who turned protection into a weapon. And somewhere tonight, a security camera is recording, capturing faces, documenting movements, bearing witness when no one else can, because sometimes the last witness is the only witness that matters.